Welcome to our first Yin Yoga practice of the 30-day front splits journey. Have 2 yoga blocks nearby. We'll be using them as an extension from our arms, from our hands today. So have any other props needed to help support you in the full splits pose, as that will be our final pose for this practice. As you know, I'd like to use my big pink circular bolster for this. So make sure to have your water nearby, and I'll join you standing at the front of your mat. Our first asana will be Dangling Pose. Alright, breathe in, circle those fingertips up to the sky. Exhale, swan dive forward, folding out your hips into forward fold. Heel till your feet a little wider than hip distance. Take a slight bend in both your knees. If it's not comfortable for you to fully release your upper body and dangle here, you may wish to place your yoga blocks in front of you at the desired height to bring your fingertips to. Otherwise, go ahead and clasp opposite elbows. Become aware of your breath. Now begin to deepen your inhalations and your exhalations. Taking full deep breaths in and out your nose. While we hold here, we really want our upper body to completely release. Allow your head and shoulders to relax. As you soften and release throughout those areas, notice how it feels. Let go of all your worries, your stressors, and let go of any thoughts you may have other than what you're experiencing right here on the mat. You may wish to play around with straightening your knees a little, making it more of a yang-like, getting into the hamstrings. Breathing deep, breathing in, and breathing out. If you have clasped elbows, release fingertips to your yoga blocks. Heel toe feet back to hip width apart. Breathe in, lift halfway, finding your nice flat back. Exhalation, soften forward, melt chest towards your thighs. With control, we'll step your right foot back and lower your back knee to the mat, preparing for dragon pose. Bring blocks to frame your front foot. Ensure that your front knee is in line with your ankle and not going past. If your back knee hurts or it gets uncomfortable with a hard surface, go ahead and pad it up with a blanket or by folding your yoga mat over. We'll be holding this for a few minutes, so make sure you get comfy. Your back leg in one long line all the way to your toes, preventing that foot from sickling in. As we hold this pose, over time, the hip flexor in the front of your hip may open and you may walk that front leg out forward. So I encourage you to not come to your deepest edge to start. but rather find that first edge, that first moment you feel the sensation, and hold it there. And then as we hold, over time you can check back in and see if your body, see if your hip have opened up. And then you can move a little deeper to find that sensation once again. Torso grazing your front thigh. I enjoy hands to yoga blocks in this yin variation of low lunge to soften the pose, making it less yang-like and more yin-like. Draw your attention to your hips. Feel that they are square, and then allow them to relax and sink towards the earth. Deep rhythmic breathing as you hold. Now super slowly we're going to shift our weight back while straightening the front leg. Tuck your back toes and lower your hip to your heel. Flex your front toes. Chest reaches you forward over the extended leg. We'll be here for just a few moments. This is more of a transitional pose. Use those yoga blocks to help find space in your front and your back body as you hinge forward. Now go ahead and lean forward to untuck your toes and lower your top of foot to kiss the mat. Then lower your hips to the inside of your leg. Glance forward and make sure your knees are in line with your hip. Now you can remain sitting up tall if you feel sensation here, but if not, you can lower back to your forearms or to a bolster or all the way towards the mat, wherever you feel that first edge at, that first sensation of the stretch. Once you have your edge, draw your attention to your quads at the front of your right thigh and your right hip flexor. Keep breathing slowly and evenly. If you're at a mild edge here, stay here for several breaths and see if your quads and hips relax and open. If they don't, this is your pose for the time being. You may wish to take it into your shoulders a little by cactusing your arms, only if it's calling to you though. Notice your tendency to push too hard or judge your inability to go farther. Remember, my friend, that a practice of mindfulness does not judge or condemn, but we just notice our body with curiosity. This doesn't mean that we let go of any intention to go deeper, but rather to be accepting and content with ourself and our body wherever it may land. You and your body will be able to go deeper when you are able to relax and you're able to release and let go. Let go of pushing, let go of judging, and continue to breathe deeply. Alright, wherever you find yourself in saddle pose, mindfully and gently press yourself up. Walk yourself forward so hands frame your front foot. Tuck your back toes and step your front foot back for a down dog. Then take a slow stroll to the front of the mat for forward fold, returning to our dangling pose. This time we'll not be holding it as long, we'll just hold it for 1 minute. Feet hip width apart, slight bend in your knees, arms can dangle or clasp opposite elbows. Draw your attention to your upper body and allow it to fully release and dangle. Your head weighs heavy like a bowling ball. Your jaw is relaxed. Your neck holds no tension. Now become aware of your breath. And then begin to deepen your inhalations and your exhalations, taking full deep breaths in and out your nose. If you have clasped elbows, release fingertips to the mat. And with control, we'll step your left foot back and lower your back knee to the mat, preparing for dragon pose on the other side. Bring your blocks to frame your front foot. Ensure your front knee is in line with your ankle and not going past. Remember to pad that back knee up if needed so you're comfortable in the longer hold. Let this be a practice of loving kindness towards yourself. Your back leg in one long line all the way to your toes. Remember to try to not go to your deepest edge to start, but find that moment where you feel the first sensation. That's your first edge, and you hold it there. Then as we hold this pose over time, the hip flexor in your front hip may open, and you may walk the front leg out a little more. So as we hold, you can check back in from time to time and see if your body, your hips have opened, and then you can move a little deeper to find that sensation once more. Torso grazes your front thigh. Using the blocks to make this more yin-like. Draw your attention to your hips. Feel that they are square to the front of the mat. And then melting forward and down into the pose. Deep, rhythmic breathing as you hold. Now with loving kindness, slowly shift your weight back while straightening the front leg. We'll tuck your back toes, then lower your hip to your heel. Flex your front foot. Heart guides you forward over the extended leg. Use those yoga blocks to help find space in the front and the back side of your body as you hinge forward. Alright, go ahead and lean forward to untuck your toe and lower your top of foot to the mat. Then lower your hips to the inside of your leg. Glance at your knees to make sure they're hip distance apart. Now your right and left side may be a little different, so tune into your body on this side and try not to automatically do what you did on the first side. So go ahead and sit up nice and tall. If you feel sensations here, you can pause there, but if not, lower to your forearms or to a bolster or all the way to the mat, wherever you feel that first edge. And once you have found it, draw your attention to the quads of the front side of the left thigh and left hip flexor. Keep breathing slowly and evenly. If you're unable to breathe slowly and evenly, I encourage you to back off a little and return to level 1 or level 2 option. Remember, you can take it into your shoulders a little bit if you'd like by cactusing your arms, only if it's calling to you and if you are reclined. So the secret to saddle pose and most yin poses is to stay as totally relaxed as possible and tap into that conscious breathing, as that can help you achieve that deep relaxation. Enjoy your breath, my friend. When you learn to practice the mindfulness of tending to your breath, sending new energy and relaxation into the area that is being tended to through the breath, these poses will become effortless. Alright, wherever you find yourself in saddle pose, mindfully and gently press yourself up. Walk yourself forward, so hands frame your foot. Tuck your back toes and step your front back to down dog. We'll be moving into our front split pose next, so if you are like me and need to get your props better set up, you can step forward to forward fold and addressing your props, and then you'll step back to down dog. Then you'll lower your knees to the mat and find your tabletop pose. Yoga blocks under your palms to step your right foot forward like you're coming into low lunge. Make sure your feet are hip distance, so on 2 separate tracks. Option 1 is to take half split pose by straightening your right leg, flexing that foot. Now this may be intense, so you can stay right here. But if it's not, you can play with sliding your heel forward and bringing your back knee back so that you are inviting your hips to lower just a bit. Option 2, if the flexibility is there, will open up the hips a little more, so you can place a yoga bolster or block directly underneath the hip and the hamstring of your front leg, which is what I'm going to do. So play with the positioning of the block or the bolster. I like the bolster because it's a bit softer than the block, and the block also is a bit lower, so that bolster gives me just the right amount of space that I need. Play around with it until you feel good, supported, and aligned. So even if you can lower all the way, this is a great place to start so that you don't overstretch your hamstring too much or too quick. So find your edge and then allow your body to melt deeper into the pose over time. Your right toes point towards the sky. Also, curling your back toes under to start will also help to soften the pose. And then over time you can untuck your toes, taking it a little deeper. We'll hold it here for 10 breaths. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders square to the front of the mat. We also want our hips square to the front of the mat, With your toes tucked, you can even press up a little and draw it forward as your right hip slides back in space, squaring them up. Keep with this intention as you hold and breathe, gently guiding your right hip back and left forward. Now really slowly start to bend into the knees. One and then the other, moving slow and mindfully, taking it inch by inch. Then go ahead and scoot your props off to the side if you're still using them, and find your tabletop pose. Using your yoga blocks as extension of your hands, go ahead and take a few hip circles here. Noticing how the right and left side feel, working out any tightness you may be feeling. Move intuitively, taking it a few times in one direction and then the other. Maybe taking it into an up dog variation or even child's pose if that's calling to you. Alright, let's take that to the second side from tabletop pose. Step your left foot forward. Now your right and left side flexibility is more than likely different, so try not to automatically do what you did on the first side. So let's begin with taking half split pose, checking in, seeing how that feels. Maybe this is your first edge. Make sure your feet are hip distance, that flex your front foot. If this is not your first edge, begin to slide your heel forward and bring your back knee back so that you're inviting your hips to lower closer to the earth. Option 3, opening your hips a little more, you can place a yoga bolster or block directly underneath the front leg, hip and hamstring. Remember, even if you can lower all the way, this is a great place to start so that you don't overstretch your hamstring too much or too quick. So find your first edge and then allow your body to melt deeper into the pose over time, over this longer hold. Left toes towards the sky. And remember that tucking your back toe can help soften the pose, and untucking the toes, top of the back foot kissing the mat can deepen it. Hold for 10 breaths. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders square to the front of the mat. Gently guide your left hip back and your right hip forward, keeping with that intention as you hold and breathe. Now really slowly start to bend into your knees, one and then the other, moving slow, mindfully, listening to your body, taking it inch by inch. Setting your yoga props off to the side. Find your tabletop pose and take those hip circles once more. Listening to your body, working out any tightness you may be feeling. Taking a few times in both directions. Beautiful. Bring big toes to kiss and knees open wide for wide knees, child's pose. So melt your torso through center and fingertips reaching away. Round forward and make your way to seated, bringing soles of feet out in front of you. Once you're there, go ahead and windshield wiper your knees to the left, taking your gaze to the opposite direction for a gentle twist. Then lift knees up to center and lower them to the right, your gaze to the left. Alright, then just windshield wipe your knees to the right and left a few times. And as you do this, allow your lower body to inch its way forward so you can finally lower yourself all the way to the mat for Shavasana. Bring your feet as wide as the mat and let them splay open. Open your palms to face up to the sky. Full deep breath in through your nose And a long slow exhalation out your nose as you soften and relax your entire body. Relax your being, body melting into the earth. And let go of any and all intention other than being here on the mat, enjoying your breath. Closing our practice today with a moment to allow the nutrients of the practice to settle in and integrate into mind, body, and spirit. Slowly draw one knee in and then the other, giving yourself a hug. You may rock it side to side if you'd like. Roll over to the right side. And slowly make your way to a comfortable cross-legged seated position. Hands to your knees and lengthen up through the crown of your head. Bring hands to prayer at heart. And then raise prayer to your forehead. And bow forward, thanking yourself for taking this time to tend to your body, mind, and spirit, appreciating every step of the journey. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining me on the mat. Take a moment to replenish your body with water. That's a wrap on week 1. I'll see you on the mat tomorrow to kick off week 2.